Hey, there's one word you probably say. I guarantee you everyone has used this word, and yet I can tell you that it is holding you back. That's what we're talking about. Stick around.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome back to Franchise Pitfalls and Profits. Hey, if you've been listening for a while, you know this year that I have moved the podcast in a little bit of a different direction. It's become a little bit more oriented to not just talking about franchising, but talking about business from the lens of someone that's now been doing it for, oh my gosh, 26 years. I started to realize that a lot of the lessons, a lot of the biggest lessons that I have learned really aren't just about business or just about franchising. They are often about life and how life weaves itself into our businesses or vice versa. So today's going to be another one of those conversations. We've made that transition this year, and I'm excited to share in this way with you. So let me jump in because I talked in the teaser about one word that's you've said, and that I can guarantee you this word is holding you back. So here it is, drum roll. The word is someday. Think about how often you've said that. Someday I will slow down. Someday I'll spend more time with the family when this happens or that happens. Someday I'm going to lose weight and get in shape. Someday we're going to travel the world. Someday I'm going to start a business. Someday I'm going to retire. Someday I'll volunteer more. Someday I'll tell my friends and those around me that I influence about my faith. Someday. You know, it's such a simple, innocent word, and it actually sounds pretty responsible. When you say some of those things and you think back and you know you've said some of those exact examples that I shared, it sounds pretty responsible. It sounds hopeful, it sounds positive. I'm going to get to that someday. It sounds like you've got a plan. Yep, that's in the plan. That's going to happen when such and such happens first. But I have really come down to believe in that something over the last few years has just gone off like sirens and flashing lights to me. And here it is. Someday is one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves because all we're ever given is a today. That's really what I want us to talk about and think about today. One of the things that changes when you get older is you begin to think differently about the amount of time that we have. But why don't you think of that if you're much younger? I wish I'd had known this when I was younger. When I was 30 or even 40, which is exactly when I started my first business, there was always another season I could count on happening. I could always guarantee on another opportunity in the business that I was in business coaching and training, and based on many of the things that I taught, I had opportunities to look at a lot of different things. So again, always thinking, hey, there's another opportunity. Hey, there's another decade. I'm only 44. Hey, there's another chance to do something. We assume that we will always have a tomorrow, and we just don't think about it. And we live that way. Like things can be delayed and paused, or put on the sidelines, or I used to say put in the parking lot to be done later. Well, I never got back into many of those parking lots to ever do anything about it. Somewhere along the line, I began to realize something, that the years were passing away faster than I expected. Friends get older, parents passed away, grandchildren are growing up. I am shocked that I have a 13-year-old grandson. Businesses change, life changes. Maybe we face a horrible, debilitating injury or illness. So you start to realize, or I want you to start to realize, tomorrow is a gift that you hope for, but today is the gift that we've actually been given. I've shared before that one of the words God has impressed upon me about a year ago, almost this exact time, about a year ago, actually it was 2 words: slow down. Not retire, not quit, not accomplish less, but the words were slow down. And at first, I didn't understand it. I'm a slow learner. It took me a couple of months for it to start to become important to me, start to sink in, start to embrace it and engage it, and really understand what it was about, what it is about. Slowing down wasn't about productivity. It was about presence, being fully present with God, but also fully present with everyone else. Don't we owe that to the people around us, to the lives that we influence, even to the people simply that maybe serve us, like a waiter or a waitress? But it's so important to be fully present with my wife, with my grown children, with my grandchildren, with other people, professional people that I know, or professional relationships that I have. I have spent much of my life looking forward to the next, whatever is next. Well, I was building, I was growing, I was leading, very much leading. I was speaking, I was helping business people scale. I was helping people get into business and the lifestyles and the things that they wanted to achieve. But even good things can cause us to postpone the best things. As business owners, we're especially guilty of this. We tell ourselves, hey, when this project is over, I'll do X. We talk about when I hire the next position, I'll be able to. When our revenue, oh, this is a classic. I've heard it so many times as an excuse for business owners not to get advisors, coaches in their life. When revenue hits a certain number, then I'll do X or Y. When cash flow improves, when things settle down, kind of maybe the opposite of that. Man, yes, I have said some of these things myself. I am guilty. But do you hear it in here? Do you hear the word we're talking about in all of these things? It's someday. And someday is one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, because all we are given is a today. So I think the problem is there's always another project. There's all in when I was working in large companies, there's always another quarter for us to catch up. There in small business and being an entrepreneur, there's always another challenge for me to accomplish or overcome. Again, there's always an opportunity. I would get phone calls monthly about buying this business or investing over here, because business in and of itself doesn't naturally down. life doesn't naturally slow down. I hearken back to the days when I was younger and in my teens, and we talked about technology, and we read about technology, and it was in the news. Technology then was all about being able to get more of our lives back, to make our lives easier. And sure, they do. Look at the microwave. Instead of cooking for 20 or 30 minutes, we can pop something in a microwave for 3 minutes and have dinner. But the reality of what technology did was actually make us more productive. It actually caused us to work more. It never proved out the theory of giving us our lives back. It actually took more of our lives and from our lives. Our lives today, because of technology, I'm not beating up on technology, but I'm simply saying the reality is based on technology and a lot of other things in life, opportunities, things available to us and to our children and our families. Life today is busier than ever. So life is not going to naturally slow down. If we are waiting for it to become less busy before we start living differently, you may wait forever. And that's exactly what someday is whispering in our ears. Hey, not yet, or later. You could do that later, or you'll have plenty of time for that. Um, I've also seen it. My company and I, over 26 years, has helped. Well, we've talked to thousands of people through career pivoting and career change, and their interests in owning a business. 26 years. Again, my company and I have talked to potentially future business owners, and I have watched people spend months and sometimes years researching and searching, attending webinars and going to the franchise shows, and asking questions. And they would just in their minds go, I'm almost ready. I'm almost there. Sometimes waiting, is wisdom. There's a component of not jumping the gun, or not deciding too quickly, or not being sure you're not chasing a fad. But a lot of times it just isn't wisdom. Preparation does matter. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes waiting has absolutely nothing to do with preparation or with wisdom. Sometimes waiting is simply our fear that has now become a habit. Sometimes waiting is our fear feeling like we're being responsible. And the same thing happens in relationships. Someday I'll make that phone call. Someday I'll apologize. I'll make that relationship right. Someday I'll reconnect with that friend that I haven't talked with for years. And one of those I'll share very candidly. A boyhood friend of mine, next door neighbor, grew up together, went through high school together, stayed in touch through college, and then our lives separated. In the last couple of years, we have reconnected as one of his sisters passed away, and his parents were younger than mine, and they passed away, and he was here in Pennsylvania from his home down in Florida. He called me recently to share with me that he has dementia. He has Alzheimer's, not dementia. He has Alzheimer's, and wow. Someday, don't wait for someday to reconnect with some of your long time friends, because you never know what's going on in their lives. You'll never know whether someday will ever come in some circumstances. Someday I'll spend more time with my kids. I used to think, hey, I'm making all of this money and I'm buying my daughter the best snowboard that money can buy, or we're going on an incredible vacation. And again, those things in and of themselves are not bad, but was I sacrificing more time with my kids because I thought I was doing the right thing with focus so much on my career that I didn't spend as much time with my kids when they were growing? Making up for that now as they are older, and clearly making up for that with grandkids. Someday I'll visit my parents more often. And then, of course, parents get old and pass away. So sometimes the someday that we always think will be there, someday it becomes, boy, I wish I had done such and such. So I've been thinking about legacy a lot this year. For most of my life, I thought legacy was something that you left behind after you passed. And boy, have I really gotten a different perspective about what legacy really should be. Legacy is not primarily what you leave behind. Again, you can do that. I'm chairman of the board of a nonprofit, and certainly we appreciate when people leave. They think of us, they believe in our mission, and they leave us money in their will. But I've come to realize that I believe legacy is much more about how you live every day. Break it down. Every decision, every act of kindness, every conversation that you have, every moment of faithfulness and putting others first and serving. To me, that's our legacy. Not someday, but today. And that's why this has gotten so personal to me. Someday is one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, because all we are given is today. My faith has shaped a lot of this, certainly. It's brought this to a much more urgent realization. I've noticed this in scripture. God never asked people to obey him someday. Jesus never asked people to follow him someday. There's great stories in the Bible about people who said, well, I need to go home and bury my father. Well, his father wasn't ill. He wanted to just go home and get away from this Jesus guy who said, follow me now. Follow me today. Jesus and God asks us to obey today, to trust him today, to serve others and our neighbors and him today, to love today, to forgive today, to be faithful today. Are you getting it? Are you tracking with me? We hope for tomorrow, but we live today. So here's something that I have been asking myself. If eternity were more real to me than today, what would I do differently today? How would I live differently? And that is a question that has changed me, because suddenly today matters much, much more. The conversations I have matter much, much more. Rather than a hello, how are you to the neighbor, I'm having conversations like I did with my next door neighbor, who is of Indian descent, not Native American Indian, but from the country of India. I don't know how it came up, but God prompted me to say, well, what do you believe? What is your religion? Encouragement matters more. The person standing in front of you, you do not know what they're going through until you engage with them in some conversation, until you believe who's in front of you really, really matters. The opportunity to help someone does matter more today than saying, I'm going to someday get involved in that. I'm not saying tomorrow doesn't matter, but today is all that we've been giving. So maybe the question isn't, what am I going to do someday? But maybe the better question is, what can I begin today? Not what am I going to do someday, but what can I begin today? Maybe today you should make that phone call with that friend that's been distant, maybe had some words and stopped speaking. Today maybe is the day that you forgive someone. Maybe today is the day that you start exercising, as simply as, hey, it's a beautiful evening after dinner. Let's take a 30-minute walk. Maybe today is the day you write your first page of the book that you've someday we're going to start. Today, maybe you apply for that job and that career change or company change. Maybe today is the day you launch a business, or you take your initial steps to finding out more about launching a business. Today maybe is the day that you spend some uninterrupted time with your spouse, and you put the phone down and upside down so you're not seeing what reminders are popping in. Today's maybe the day you crack open your Bible, or you download the Bible app on your phone so that you can begin to read and study the scriptures. Today is maybe the day you encourage someone. You go to the same diner for breakfast every day or every couple of days, and you see the same waitress. Today's maybe the day you encourage your waiter or your waitress, not because you're finished with today, but because you're finally beginning your today. So I want to leave you with a final thought. And I've spent a lifetime helping people build businesses and help them find the right business, the right fit. And I love doing that. It's why I still do a lot of that, and my company and my team do that today. I've learned a lot about success. I'm still learning a lot about significance over success. But I want to leave you with one final thought and one final question. What have you been putting off until someday that deserves your attention today? Because someday is one of the greatest lies that we tell ourselves, because all we are ever given is a today. Hey, I'll see you next time. I appreciate you joining me. If you're getting value out of my podcast, recommend it to somebody else. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And hey, I will see you next time with more from the lens, more life from the lens of a business owner. Thanks.